Great. It's a minute past 10 o'clock. I want to welcome everybody to I think it's the third official convening, this time virtual, first virtual convening of Entrepreneurship Advantage. We had one last October and one in February at the LA Chamber. And obviously today we're going to be talking about LA-based small businesses in challenging times and what we've got going on in the community to help our small businesses. Next slide, please. My name is Heidi Pickman. I am with CAMEO. For those of you who don't know CAMEO, we're the statewide network of entrepreneurial and trading programs and micro lenders in the state of California. We're all the way from San Diego up to Wairika. Our members do business coaching, business advising, they do microloans and other services for businesses. And we have about 220 members statewide. So we're kind of like the statewide entrepreneurship advantage, if you want to say that. A couple of Zoom tips for you if you haven't been on Zoom and you're looking for controls. You can take your cursor, bring it to the bottom of the screen, and you should see a mic icon, and you can mute and unmute yourself. Right now, everybody is muted when you join. There's also a chat icon, which is just a little bubble like you see in the cartoons where all the words are. And the other thing is, Melissa right now is sharing her screen. Melissa Cruz is with CAMEO. She's the program manager for Entrepreneurship Advantage. Melissa, wave and say hello. And she's sharing her screen right now. You can take your cursor up to the top of the screen and you can click on the view options and you can exit full screen, and you can also see some menu options there on maneuvering around Zoom. We are recording. We will send out a recording of this after probably tomorrow. We feel free to share it. We'll share all the resources that you're going to see in the follow-up email. And now I'd like to just tell you a little bit about what CAMEO's been doing over the past few weeks. So if we could pull up the CAMEO resource page. We've been hosting statewide, actually, we've had somewhat of a national reach with a lot of our programs. We've been holding at least 2 or 3 webinars a week on topics such as the PPP, the Payroll Protection Program, the SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loans. We've had a webinar on how to go online ASAP, some easy tips to take your training online. If you click on that webinar button, you don't have to do that now, Melissa, but if you go to this page, which is accessible from our homepage, you could see all our webinars that we've been doing over the past few weeks. So that's, if there's something that you are looking for, some training. Somebody asked, how do I set up a gift card? How do I help my clients set up a gift card? We're looking into doing a webinar on that. We're also doing on Monday, I believe, we're trying to confirm a date. We're doing a roundtable with TA providers with the state on how the state resources, kind of a roundtable, what you hear. We're going to be discussing what the state can do for your businesses. And actually a little bit later on today, we're having the same thing for lenders, specifically for a lenders roundtable. If you're interested, I'm going to plot my email into chat right here, and you can email me and I can send you the registration link for that. That's strictly for lenders. So like to do a little bit of introductions. We have quite a few people on the call. So unfortunately, we have 44 people on the call, including, I think Carolina is on the call. So Carolina, if you want to wave hello, and Susan Brown, the other two CAMEO staff members, if you want to just wave hello, we're going to do that. I'd also like to call out the steering committee members. I don't know if all of them are on the call, but I see Monica who'll be speaking. I'm going to hand the mic over to her soon. Monica from Guevara from CDC Loans, Emma Kloppenberg from LISC. And if any other of the steering committee members are in, if you could type your name into chat and type the word steering committee, that would be great. And then I'd like everybody else to introduce themselves. We're going to have you introduce yourself on chat because we just have way too many people to go around one by one. If you could give your name, your organization, and if you're, and we'll do a little poll in a minute, that would be great. Anna Marie's on the steering committee. Hi, Bo from PACE, who's also on the steering committee. I see lots of other people, so if you want to introduce yourself into chat, that would be great. Daniel from Angel City Advisors, welcome. Lindsay, who is one of the chairs of the steering committee from Opportunity Fund. Todd from Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator, welcome. Todd's also a brand new CAMEO member, so welcome. Antonio Pisano, Terry Gubaton with Vermont Slauson. I'm not going to get to read all of you, but welcome. Kathleen from Crowdfund Betters, Lori Mayfield from Forward Cities in Long Beach, Jeannie Tanter from Business Resource Group, Ryan from Cathay Bank, Alice Taylor from South Bay Entrepreneurial Center. Good morning. Noe from CDC, and Frank, who's on the steering committee from Bethel, and our Bank of the West team, Lily and John. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate everybody being on. And now I believe we have a poll. Hi, Ron. If you want to launch the poll, Melissa, want to find out since we have so many people, what kind of work that you do. Are you able to launch the poll, Melissa?
Hey, sorry, I can't launch the poll for some reason.
Okay. All right. Well, the idea, we were going to launch a poll to see if most of the people in the call are either training providers or lenders, or if we have any business people, we might have a business person or two. So if you want to type that and we can get an idea of who is in the poll, who's here. Seeing a very quiet, poll is up. Is the poll is up? Oh, okay. Great. I can't see the poll. So Todd, since you said poll is up, I'm gonna ask you to unmute yourself and go ahead and read me the poll because I cannot see the poll as I am.
Oh, hi guys. Actually, I submitted the poll, so it disappeared. It basically asks what type of service provider you are.
Great.
And how many of these events that you've attended.
Great. And if Melissa, you can see, if you can see Melissa, how many people are, if we've got most of everybody weighing in, go ahead and end the poll and share the results.
I can't share the poll right now, but I think another CAMEO member may be able to.
Okay. If somebody else, if not, I think we're going to move on because.
Heidi.
Yep.
I think I'm sharing the results. Are you seeing it?
No, I'm not.
I do have here, and I can see it. So we have 29% lenders, 32% technical assistance providers, 14% small business owners, 7% policy fellows, a 7% government, and 11% other.
All right, great. And fund structure, Daniel says he's a fund structure in the poll. Great. And Anne Marie says everybody saw the poll, so that's great. I am going to now turn the mic over to Monica Guevara. She's a loan officer at CDC Small Business Finance, who will take it away and talk. She's also co-chair of the Entrepreneurship Advantage Los Angeles Collaborative.
Great, thanks Heidi. Welcome everyone. Oh my goodness, it's so exciting to be able to see other professionals in the industry, even though it's virtually, but being able to see your guys' faces and being able to come together. I know it's probably been a wild whirlwind for everyone, but I'm glad we get to take a little bit of time amongst ourselves and talk about the resources that are out there, because I know there's a lot going on. There's a lot coming at us every single day. So to be able to take these moments to discuss what what programs are available, what programs are out there, and see how we can utilize all of these resources to be able to help our clients. Because if you're in economic development, that's really kind of where your heart and where your passion is, and you want to be able to offer everything you can to those clients. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be a part of Entrepreneurship Advantage, and I'm glad that everyone else is here too. So next slide. Just a quick preview of what we're going to be going over today. It's going to be fast and furious, just like these past 2 weeks have been. So just going a little bit of an overview over what Entrepreneurship Advantage is and how key it is, especially in these day and times. We have some really amazing guest speakers. We have a representative from the Mayor's Office of Economic Development. We're going to have some policy updates, the infamous PPP program. We're going to be discussing some of those items. We're going to have some updates from LISC and some of their amazing programs that they have, and also just an overall resources page, because I know not everyone is going to remember everything that we say here, but we're going to arm you with some resources and some things that you can go back to afterwards and revisit. So a little bit about Entrepreneurship Advantage. This was really formed as a collaborative and with the mindset that we all come together to create a true safety net for entrepreneurs and small businesses. And I think at no other time has that been more important and key than now. So, being able to bring together resources, whether it be government, whether it be technical assistance, lending organizations, and to really bring together that technical assistance and capital resources for LA County. And so today we're going to be focusing on, what is the hot topic and what is, impacting small businesses the most right now, which is the COVID-19 and the impacts therein. A little bit of background about us, just a little bit. Started this in March 2018 as a very, very small collaborative. So just a handful of people coming together and wondering how we can work more closely together, how we can really utilize all of the amazing programs and services that each of our organizations provides. CAMEO has been a really great partner in this. They've become our fiscal sponsor since then, and have really facilitated some amazing things like these webinars. So they've been really strategic in us being able to grow the collaborative to what it is today. We've done a couple, strategic planning, and now we're at 30 plus members, and now we have, I guess the last count was 54 people on this Zoom meeting, which is amazing. So thank you, everyone. And then shout out to the steering committee members. So this would not be possible with the hard work going on behind the scenes. Lindsay, my co-chair, she is amazing. Anna Marie Cruz also on the call today. Emma Kloppenberg, you're gonna hear from later. Carolina from CAMEO, Bo from PACE, Frank Stokes from Bethel, Larry Johnson over at SBDC, who I'm sure is overwhelmed with requests for information. Jack Orley, Wells Fargo, and Chris Lopez of LACDA. So shout out to all of you and shout out to all the CAMEO and Melissa for being our webinar page flipper, but also for all the amazing work you do behind the scenes. So just welcome to everyone. If there are small businesses on the call, I just want to make note that this webinar is really designed for the small business support organizations. We're going to be talking about a lot of the programs that are impacting small businesses, but it's really targeted towards technical assistance providers, lenders, government policy people. So it may not touch on all answers to your questions, but do know that all of the people in this room are also having webinars and resource pages for you. So not all of the information may be directly applicable, But do know that the webinar is designed so that all the people that you do get in touch with are better informed about resources and programs. And with that, I want to go ahead and introduce our very first guest speaker. It is Sonia Blake. She is Director of Community Business for the Mayor's Office of Economic Development. She has been, just a great advocate for small business, throughout her career. We're really excited to have her on board today. And I think she has some exciting news regarding some new stuff. So I don't want to steal her thunder, but I'm super excited to hear more about this. So Sonia, please take it away.
Thank you, Monica, and everyone. Wow, this is really amazing that CAMEO's pulled us all together and all of these convenings and Entrepreneurship Advantage, and I'm so glad to be a part of it. Thank you, everyone, Carolina, Heidi, all the folks, the whole team, the whole committee. So I'm really glad that we have a chance to get together, and I really just bring you heartfelt greetings from the mayor, and just want to share with you some updates and give you the opportunity to just invite you to share your input, your feedback, and what you're hearing from the business community. So to start with some outbreaks, I'm going to talk about 3 things basically. The first one is just an update and where you can find updates with regard to some of the things the mayor's talking about these days. So one of the things that I hear when I encounter businesses, and maybe the technical assistance providers are hearing as well, one thing is some of the businesses don't necessarily really understand, they're not necessarily very in touch with why we're doing this and why some of the businesses are not allowed to operate right now, and why, I think that over time, more and more people have come to really understand the seriousness of what we're dealing with, but there are still others who are, why can't we be open now? And so I think it's helpful to know that there's a resource with these updates where you can learn more about the public health concerns and what's really happening and why this is so important. I was on a call with Dr. Lucy Jones the other day, who is quite an authority on these matters, and the way she characterized what we're going through right now is a slow-moving disaster. It's a disaster, and make no mistake, but not like an earthquake where it happens, it's over, and then you deal with the aftermath. This is something that's rolling, it continues, and the impact becomes more and more evident as time goes on. So things kind of begin to unfold as time goes on. And so, the mayor is really relying on County Department of Public Health and Dr. Ferrer from Public Health Department to guide us in terms of what's important and what's safe. And by all measures, the medical professionals are really reinforcing the need for safer at home, the need for social distancing. And more recently, you'll see in these updates, the need for wearing non-medical face coverings when in public, such as bandanas or scarves or other fabric. And that keeps, because we can't necessarily tell if we have been impacted by COVID-19 and coronavirus, that helps everyone just to stay safer and really does save lives. So I think first and foremost, if you tune into this particular page where you'll see all the updates, and if you listen to the mayor's updates on Facebook, live updates at 5 p.m. at Mayor of LA, then you'll begin to really understand and be able to help businesses understand why this is just such an important thing that we're doing, and it is not unnecessary. If there were any other way around it, we wouldn't be going through this this crisis that's impacting their businesses so significantly. So that's number one. And then some of the things that, of course, the mayor has been announcing include calling on medical professionals to enter their names into a database to be on call and available. There's testing for Angelenos throughout the city now. There's been funding devoted to creating 6,000 shelter beds for people experiencing homelessness to get them off the streets since they're particularly vulnerable. There's been parking regulations lifted and other kinds of ways of helping the community to respond. Thankfully, our food supply is uninterrupted. The water, tap water, is safe to drink. We have a lot that's going for us, and we're really adjusting to this. So with that kind of update, I want to move into what's happening for businesses and what some of the things that the mayor's doing to help our businesses. Just yesterday in his address, his live address last night, the mayor announced a new initiative called CARES Core. So that's the second link URL. There we go. LA CARES Core. And you can get there by going to coronavirus.lacity.org/CARES-CORE, and it'll redirect to this page on our Economic and Workforce Development Department website. And what this is a partnership between the city and the county. The city decided to demonstrate this initiative in responding to the confusion that there is. Some have confusion around the two different SBA loans that are available, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan and the Paycheck Protection Program. Two distinct programs. And there's some confusion about who's eligible, how to apply, and these kinds of questions. So the city approached the county to come together and really direct people to one place where they can kind of see the two loans compared to one another, and then access a help team, a team of county helpers, a help desk where they can either call or they can email to get assistance in navigating these two loans. Because of course, time is of the essence. And so that is a resource that you'll be able to provide your business clients, and then for yourself as well, to be able to look at those two loans, get some clear direction about that, be able to call someone if there's help that's needed to complete those applications. And then if and when folks are not eligible for the SBA loan, there's information on the city's own emergency loan program also there as well. So before I get to the city's emergency loan, though, I do want to just talk about these 4 levels of government. So I think it's helpful to frame for businesses that, federal support, from the SBA, and these 2 different kinds of loans. And then they also have 2 other kind of programs, debt relief for people who already have an SBA loan. And then there's a 3rd loan program. I forget what it's called at the moment. I think it's like a bridge loan or something. But there are these 4 different programs on the federal level to access. Then there's the state level. And so the state has some programs through the governor's office, I believe. iBank, Infrastructure Bank has a loan guarantee program, which could help some lenders to fund businesses and offer that assistance. And then the state treasury department also has treasurer's office has a loan guarantee program as well. If a business owner has a lender that isn't participating in the program, they can provide that information to help that lender get 100% guarantee if they are to participate in the loan program and make that loan. So there are those 2 different divisions on the state level to be aware of, as well as, of course, the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration just said that small business taxpayers under $5 million in annual revenues can take advantage of a 12-month interest-free payment plan for up to $50,000 of sales and use tax liability. So this is a bit of relief for the businesses that our technical service providers can know about. So then we talked about federal, we talked about state, and we want to make every option available, right, to our businesses that are eligible. The next level would be county. So just today, the county opened up a new grant program called their Employer Assistance Grant, $10,000 grants for the first 150 applications. So it's likely that's going to go really fast. And that is for businesses that were established before December 4th of last year. They have to be able to provide their tax returns, and they have to have between 2 and 50 full-time employees. So there's something new that's available on the county level in terms of assistance. And then they do have this help center, which is a great resource for just helping businesses understand if they're essential businesses, during this crisis, and then which of those loans they might be eligible for. And then we get to the city loan program. So there's information here at lamayor.org/loan. And you'll see at the top of the page, you'll see what we're calling a resilience toolkit, where we list the different kinds of business assistance that we've become aware of on the federal, state, county, and city level. So it's all in one place. There's a handy dandy chart there, which will show people the links they can click on for more information or to apply. So that's a useful tool for a lot of your clients. And then in terms of the loan itself, City Council, at the urging of the mayor, did fund this loan's $11 million. So it's it's a smaller program. The federal government has more resources, but when you get to the city level, there are some folks who are not eligible for SBA loans, and so we really want to give them that some measure of a safety net, where they can't turn to other places, they can turn to the city and apply for this loan. Is zero interest is one of the options of the loan. Zero interest micro loans for $5,000 to $20,000 for 18 months, an 18-month term, and repayment would be deferred for 6 months. So that's one option for businesses if they just need a short-term bridge. If they want a longer-term loan, they can get a 5-year loan, but it would be at 3%, but the payments would be deferred for 12 months. For nonprofits, the interest rate is a little lower, 2%. So you'll see all the information that you may need there, no fees, and the eligibility requirements are there. We basically wanted to make it available to for-profit and nonprofit businesses that have brick and mortar locations within the city of Los Angeles. So that is pretty much the guidelines there, 100 employees or less. So I know my time is up. I had my 10 minutes and I want to be respectful of the time and just so appreciate I've had the chance to share with you all. I do have a meeting that I will be heading to in fairly short order, so I won't be on this call the whole time, but I will be available to answer questions via email. The organizers will be able to share my contact information, collect all those questions so they can moderate that, and then we'll be able to get you answers. So just really want your input and your ideas, really honor all of you for your resiliency, and we're going to get through this together. So thank you so much for your partnership, and just do reach out if we can be of assistance. Thanks so much.
Sonia, do you have time for one question I see in the chat?
Sure.
If you're in the unincorporated area of Los Angeles, can you take advantage of these programs? Or is that those would be county programs?
Yeah, those are county, so you would be able to take advantage of the county, state, federal programs, but not the city programs. You need to have a city zip code. And on that page, the loan page, which you can access from lamayor.org/loan, there is a locator, so you can go in there, put in your zip code, and find out if you're eligible.
Great. Okay. And great. Well, Sonia, thank you. And that was just a question. So I'll
great.
turn it back to Monica.
Great. Thank you, Sonia. Yeah. So with that, we're going to introduce Emma. Emma's also on the steering committee for Entrepreneurship Advantage and is a program officer for Local Initiative Support Corporation, which is doing some really great initiatives around COVID-19. So with that, I turn it over to you, Emma.
Thank you, Monica. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. As Monica said, my name is Emma Kloppenberg. I'm a program officer with Local Initiative Support Corporation, or LISC, as many of you know of it. We are a national community development financial institution, and I work out of our Los Angeles office, covering small business and economic development lending portfolio for Los Angeles County and the surrounding areas. Thank you. And today I'm going to be talking about our products for both businesses and nonprofits. So this is a snapshot of some of our products that we are offering in addition to our usual products. So on the far left-hand side, you'll see the Verizon grant. LISC National partnered with Verizon to produce $2.5 million in grants to small businesses across the country. The grant size will be $10,000 per business. The first round of this grant allocation was awarded last week, but we will have numerous other rounds going forward. And so I encourage you to continue to look at the LISC national website, www.lisc.org, to see updates there. This Verizon grant is a lottery grant. However, your lottery submission will be more heavily weighted if you are in a priority census tract. And those priority census tracts are the LMI neighborhoods in Los Angeles and surrounding areas that I cover, and then that the other offices cover as well. You are also more, your lottery submission will be higher weighted if you are a minority owned business or a woman owned business or nonprofit. So this is for nonprofits and businesses. You're welcome to submit your information into the grant lottery submission. And the grant awards for the prior round will be announced, I think, this week, if not early next week. Of course, this is grants, so 0% interest. Yes, Heidi?
Oh, how are they being announced? How are you going to announce them?
I think that it will be through email, and then also we'll probably post it on our website. Thank you. Secondly is our Kiva loan. So our Kiva loan, we've had a partnership with Kiva prior to this, but we are expanding our partnership with them in order to respond accordingly to the COVID pandemic. So for those of you who do not know, Kiva is a crowdfunding microloan platform. So you create your campaign online and you crowdfund your loan. And usually their max loan is 10,000, and I see that I apologize. The amount on this should be 15,000. So they've increased it from 10,000 to 15,000 now that you can crowdfund on your profile, and LISC will match every dollar you raise on the crowdfunding platform, dollar for dollar, up to $15,000. So you only have to raise 7,500. LISC will match every dollar you raise. As always, the Kiva loan has a 0% interest and 0 fees. These loan terms will be up to 36 months, but all loans will also have a 6-month payment deferment. So you will not be paying any principal back on your loan for the first 6 months. There's no collateral requirements, and there's no minimum credit score requirements. This Kiva Loan partnership is also going to be prioritizing food-based businesses so that we can really support the businesses in LMI communities that are delivering key food resources in food deserts or in low to moderate income neighborhoods right now. I see that there's a question. LMI is low to moderate income, and I'm happy to share that information where you can look up if your census tract is low to moderate income. Lastly is the PPP program. I think that we're going to be talking more about this. So LISC's subsidiary, Amito, is an SBA approved lender, and they are right now assessing whether or not they can take on the PPP program. And so we will know tomorrow, if not tomorrow, then Monday by the latest, whether or not Amito will be deploying the PPP out of LISC capital.
Emma, you've got a few questions in chat that I'll just read out to people. Linda asked where the LMI areas are. So Linda will get you a resource locator for that. And on the PPP loan program, are you going to make that available to all business or just to list clients?
For the PPP, we don't know the answer to that yet. So I will
Okay.
let you know when we know, hopefully Monday.
Yeah, the PPP program, so anybody knows, is a lender. Not all lenders are participating. You should, if you're a business owner, you should start with asking your bank if they're participating. That lender who you have a banking relationship with, and there's also an SBA locator about who is doing the PPP loans. And then on the, Lisa had a question, is there a payment for Kiva solely for the list match amount, or did you have to repay the 15,000?
No, so you don't have to repay the list amount. So you're just repaying the 7,000. If your total award was, if your total loan amount was 15,000, you're just repaying the amount you raised. So that's 50%. Sorry, I'm going to correct that. I see one of my colleagues just messaged me. That is incorrect. They repay the entire loan amount to all lenders.
I might think you still have the floor if you want it.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I think I can move along. So lastly, I'm going to touch on our bridge loan product. So this is for nonprofits and also for for-profit companies as well. So we are seeing that some service providers right now are gaining new contracts in order to meet the need of COVID response. So we are providing a short-term bridge loan such that we can bridge those contracts up to $5 million, and you can draw up to 80% of your outstanding accounts receivable on your outstanding contracts. And with that, if there's no other questions, I think we can proceed.
There's one more question, I think, on the bridge loan. Is it LA or is it LA only, or is that a national program that you guys are rolling out on the bridge loan?
That is a national program. I underwrite loans for Los Angeles and surrounding areas, but if you are outside of that area, I'm happy to refer you to a list colleague that is in another office.
Great. Any more questions for Emma?
Thank you. And there is my contact information if you need it, and happy to reach out through email.
Great. Next, we're going to hear from our friends at Small Business Majority. We have Brian Pfeiffer with us. He's the Vice President of Entrepreneurship. Brian, take it away.
Thanks, Heidi, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I was going to run through, we've been active, if you can go to the next slide, we've been active on Capitol Hill, monitoring and understanding what's been going on with the various relief packages, including the latest CARES Act, as well as the previous packages. For those unfamiliar with our organization, we're a national small business education and advocacy organization. I'm based here in Los Angeles. We have offices in several states and a main operation in DC as well. And I oversee our Venturize platform, where we're compiling education and resources around this crisis, including pointing to all the various programs that Sonia and Emma and others have talked about. So feel free to direct your clients there if they need help finding specific resources. If you can go to the next slide. So I'm going to talk about two things here. One, the stimulus package, the various components of it. Many of you are probably aware of the existing provisions, and I want to go over what we're thinking about phase 4, and also how you can get involved and how you can get your clients involved in making sure that relief flows to small businesses, especially those who are being left out of the current relief programs as fast as possible. Next slide. So just to briefly update on the first phases of the bill, that was some initial money for the economic injury disaster loans, and basically allowed that program to expand. It also included expansion of Emergency Medical and Paid Leave Act for employers. Businesses with under 50 employees are exempted under that program, but via tax credit. But those are kind of the main components of the first two phases of the funding. And then the third phase on the next slide, as most of us should be aware, is the Payroll Protection Program that's allocated $349 billion to be distributed through approved 7A lenders, as well as open up the door to other lenders to get that SBA approval to do those loans, although that is still pending. And those loans can be forgivable if the money is spent on eligible expenses, primarily payroll. The latest guidance that came out from SBA was that 75% of the loan proceeds have to go towards payroll expenses. That includes payroll itself, up to $100,000 per employee. It includes premium payments, retirement payments, as well as state and local taxes. The other 25% of the loan proceeds can go to rent, mortgage interest, utilities, and maybe other debt obligations, although as we're seeing, the regs are still being written day by day and changed day by day, and SBA is basically taking their small programs, both with economic injury disaster and with this new program that were very targeted and small before, into something much more massive, and it's a giant undertaking. And the banks are trying to understand the SBA requirements and what's required under this law so that they can help as many people as possible. But what we're seeing out in the field, and I'm sure you are as well, is some banks are only taking existing clients. Some banks have already cut off taking new applications due to too high a demand, or they don't have the liquidity to participate in the program yet, although the Federal Reserve just opened up a secondary market where banks will be able to sell these loans back to people, or back on the secondary market and free up liquidity. The third phase of the stimulus also included the advance for the economic injury disaster program, which include up to $10,000 for anyone who applies for an economic injury disaster loan. According to legislation, that money was to be distributed within 3 days of applying for an economic injury disaster loan, or EIDL as I call it. We haven't heard of anyone receiving that money. If you have, please let me know. But one thing we're doing right now from an advocacy perspective is collecting stories of small business owners and clients who have tried to access these programs, their experiences doing it, and their inability to access the relief, so that we can pressure Congress for phase 4 to improve these programs and get relief out as fast as we can. Yes, Heidi.
Can I ask a question here and ask if the audience, yes. Oh, great. That was my question, Larry. At the SBD have had clients who have received either the economic injury disaster loan or a PPP loan. That's like the first evidence I've seen of that. So if you want to type that in, if you have.
Yeah, we've heard from a couple SBDCs that a couple clients have. I'd also be curious if they've received the advanced portion as well, whether they've been approved and or whether they've received kind of the advanced portion of that loan, because that's kind of a big sticking point as well, whether that money is actually hitting people's bank accounts at this point.
I have a comment I can make there. I am on a call every day with officials from the SBA. Because there's such a tremendous requirement for evaluation of these requests. In some cases, people are being granted cash immediately in excess of the advance. In fact, I have one client who received an acknowledgement of receiving $15,000. He did not get an acknowledgement of the cash advance. And he was a bit disappointed because he thought his idle requests demanded greater treatment. When we questioned the folks from the SBA, they said that this is a desire to get as much funds as possible to address some immediate need. And then once his application has an opportunity to be considered fully, they'll be providing additional funds. But this was in recognition that he had a greater than $10,000 need, and they wanted to address that somehow. So some people will not get the up to $10,000 cash advance allocation, but get some adjudication for some amount of money, and then there will be additional funds to come.
Well, that's good to know. And did this happen this week? In the last couple of days?
It happened yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah. Well, I'm glad it's starting to come through. So that's good. So yeah, that's something we're continuing to monitor. And then also, as many of you are probably aware, the legislation also included additional money for small business development centers, women's business centers, and other technical assistance providers due to your increased caseload, I am sure. Next slide. I forget what it says at the bottom. There's also the piece about the subsidy for folks who had an existing SBA loan, not under the PPP program, but an existing 7A 504 microloan, that the SBA is going to make payments on those loans for 6 months, and also for any new non-PPP loans approved over the next, I believe, 6 months, right through September or something like that. So for your clients who maybe aren't able to access PPP or idle, maybe there's a microloan opportunity for them, or a 7A opportunity for them, and the SBA is going to pay the first 6 months of those loan payments. So it's not even a deferment; it's an actual kind of cash award in that sense. So a lot of developments on the Hill right now. I think that they're, like today as we speak, the Senate is considering additional cash infusion to the PPP program. We don't know all the details yet, what it's going to look like. An additional $250 billion to PPP is kind of what's out there. And there's a desire, at least from one side of the aisle, that much of this money gets to CDFIs and MBIs and other community development organizations to facilitate this money getting to the people who need it the most and who might be getting shut out of the current process. So it's also, they're looking, yes, Heidi.
Sorry, I heard that phase 4 is really going to only be the 250 billion.
Right.
This is the rumor.
Right, yeah.
That on the floor, that the latest from DC this morning is that it's the 250 extension of the PPP, and that's it.
Right.
That's it, just 250 billion.
Right. So I think when we think about phase 4, like we have bigger dreams for what a true phase 4 looks like. And then there's like 3.5, which is shoring up PPP because all the money's going along. So yeah, the 3.5, what's being discussed today is boosting the allocation to PPP and trying to get some more money, hopefully to community-based organizations who can help get it to the folks who need it the most. Our top priorities for what a true phase 4 looks like is extending unemployment insurance, more direct grant assistance, more flexible assistance, not tied to payroll for the self-employed, for folks who've already laid people off, who don't know when they're going to be able to put them back on payroll. It's unclear to us whether PPP is actually a solution for them or not. We would like to see more unfettered direct grant assistance to small businesses, whether that comes through a PPP mechanism or some other mechanism, depending on how PPP plays out. And I would encourage, so we are collecting stories, we're collecting sign-ons for small businesses who've been affected by this crisis. If you want to go to the next slide. And the one after that, those are just kind of, that's fine. So yeah, on our main smallbusinessmajority.org homepage, we have a COVID-19 banner. It includes all the webinars. We've been hosting tons of webinars over the past couple of weeks. We've reached probably over 15,000 people across the country so far, and doing more by the day. But on our website, COVID-19, we have the sign-on campaign. We're also collecting surveys about how people have been impacted, and collecting a form where they can tell us how they've been impacted and how their experiences dealing with both EIDL and PPP, so we can track and monitor that and ensure that everything is kosher. Next slide. And then, yeah, these are some other ways for folks to get in touch with us. I'm sure Heidi will and others will share these slides afterwards, but these are all our resources. I also mentioned Metterize, where we're putting all our kind of compilation of other relief and grant programs across the country, and a lot in California and LA in particular, to share with everyone. So, and with that, I'll turn it over to Anna Marie. She's on.
Thank you, Brian. Hi, everyone. I'm going to just include my link for ICIC. I'm the Western Regional Manager for Initiative for Competitive Intercity, and I manage the Intercity Capital Connections program, which traditionally has been offered in 16 physical locations, but now we're actually offering these on a web-based platform in May to make sure that the resources and education would be available to businesses without the geographic limitations. So I do encourage you to look at that website. We have a couple of other agenda items, and I want to encourage those of you who have time. We're going to go through a little bit of a discussion. We're scheduled to end this at the hour, but if you can stay on maybe till 10 after, that would be great. And at this time, we'd like to share our Entrepreneurship Advantage resource matrix. This is of course, an evolving, ever-changing document that we're updating, but this is a place where you as resource providers can go. You can share this with your clients, whether you're a TA or lender, a TA provider or lender. And what we're really doing is focusing locally to make sure that we're capturing the resources available in LA. And this will be made available to you. I believe it's going to be sent via email. One other thing I wanted to note that's not on our agenda is just an example of how this collaborative actually does support the work that we do. We've been collaborating with Small Business Majority on a national level. We've been holding a number of webinars, and the information they're providing and also the action in terms of shaping policy is important to the business owners that we work with. So we want to ensure that that information is getting across. We've also been collaborating with Small Business Majority, CDC Small Business Finance, and API Small Business Program to make sure this information reaches the target communities that often do not receive this information, whether they're, if it's cultural relevance that we're talking about. This is a community that you can really tap into to make sure that these resources and information is being directed to other communities that you play in. So please do reach out to other members and create programming and partner with each other. Okay, so there's the lending matrix. I think you already got the information there. Now we're going to go into a brief discussion as really as what we're saying is, we're actors and the responders to this other front line, to this other issue that's the economic crisis, obviously. And we want to hear from you, whether you're a TA provider, a nonprofit, leader, or a lender. What are the strategies that you're seeing? So we're just going to go through a couple of questions. One is, what are the strategies that you're seeing to help business owners during this time? What's working for you? What can you share as best practice? And Heidi, do we want to, excuse me, do we want to have this as an open discussion? Do we want to just have people unmute themselves?
Sure. I think if you would like to talk, again, I'll tell you where the mute button is. Take your cursor down to the bottom of your screen, and you can, on the very left corner is a mute button or an unmute button. Melissa's going to take notes. I think you could stop sharing your screen and maybe we can pop. Melissa, can you copy and paste the questions into chat? And Anna Marie, I think you had a question for everybody beforehand about something about TA. I can't, people providing TA around, I can't remember
Yes,
what it was. We could
I'm
start with you.
sure. So I'm wondering if there are any TA providers offering advising hours after regular business hours, because what we're seeing is
After
obviously,
business hours, right?
yes. So a lot of the TA providers are inundated during business hours. Are any of you providing services in the evenings or
Mariko,
anyone?
Mariko said yes, well beyond regular business hours. Where are you, what org are you located with? So
I'm with Little Tokyo Service Center.
Oh, great, thanks. Anyone else doing beyond business hours? AMC, of course we are. Ron, yeah.
And of course, these are virtual, right? I do want to make a note too from Daniel Talelian. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. There's a new LA County loan and grant fund coming online shortly that should be included in the lending matrix. So we'll make sure to reach out to you. Would you like to share any information about that, Daniel? Do you have any more information? I think you're on mute.
Actually, I think he dropped off the call. Does anybody know anything? Does anybody else know anything about the county piece?
I
Oh,
see
Daniel,
him
there
on
you
here.
are. There you are, Daniel. Go ahead. Daniel, take it away. No, we can't hear you.
In the meantime, I also see Eric Romero on here. He's with the city of Long Beach. Do you want to share some of the best practices or things that are happening in the city?
Sure. Hi. Good morning, everyone. So we've been working really aggressively to really strengthen our partnerships across our local entrepreneurial ecosystem. So we have a number of business associations that manage business improvement districts that represent thousands of businesses across the city of Long Beach. We have a number of community-based organizations in Cambodia Town and other parts of the city that have diverse entrepreneurs. And we are speaking with them daily, and we send daily updates around some of the federal programs, local policies as well, and are ensuring that they have the most current information so that they can share that with their network. We've also seen new organizations that have traditionally been social service organizations that are coming online to support small business owners and entrepreneurs, and are also recruiting neighborhood leaders that can speak multiple languages to ensure that we're getting information to the right folks, mostly through Zoom calls and just regular calls as well. One of the things that's great is some of our local business associations have been putting up small grants, really $1,000 grants, but the whole purpose of these grants are to get people to benefit from technical assistance. So for example, we have a business improvement district in the downtown called the Downtown Long Beach Alliance, and they're offering up to $1,000 grants. But in order to get this grant, you have to sit through a 1-hour webinar that will have a combination of city staff, members from the Small Business Development Center, our local workforce agency, to really talk through all of the resources that are available. So it's really, hey, there's $1,000 here, but you have to learn about the resources that you can benefit from, and also help us spread the word about these resources. We also have recently established a new Long Beach Economic Partnership, which is a citywide economic development corporation that is partnering with OmniWorks. So they work with local community colleges in the LA area, and they have both web-based and used to have in-person technical assistance that they deliver. And we've gotten some funding from Wells Fargo. I think Union Bank is going to provide some more funding, and it'll be the same idea. You get $1,000, but you really have to get the technical assistance. So of course, I've spoke with Anna Marie about this, but everyone is asking for financial assistance. They're trying to grab onto as much cash as possible. But many folks that we're talking to, once we start to ask them some questions and unpack some of their needs, we really realize that they need some help to really think through how they're responding to business interruptions, possibly pivoting their business models so that they can become an essential businesses. And we've been seeing some of that happening here in Long Beach to manufacture PPE or personal protective equipment. But really, I think folks need to speak with someone and understand that they are not alone, that they should not try to do this alone. And so that's really the message that the city is sharing, but also in our conversations with multiple stakeholders that we're having almost every day of the week, that's the message that we're all trying to put out there is you are not alone. Get some help. We're here to help you.
Eric, I love that idea because everybody, as TA providers, we always say at CAMEO, business assistance is the first step in access to capital, and the first thing that everybody wants is money. But I love that idea, and I love the idea of tying this grant stuff. And so if anybody else is working with other jurisdictions, tying grant, even that small thing with just like, hey, you have to know about these people and you have to at least make a phone call. I love that idea. That's really good.
Yeah, and I think maybe industry-wide, one of the silver linings of this is we're seeing that technical assistance is becoming more visible. So hopefully that in the long term, we'll have more businesses access these valuable services that they can take advantage of at no cost.
Right.
I want to go back to Daniel for his update. Thanks, Eric.
Of course.
Hi, can you guys hear me? Great. Okay, sorry, don't mean to take too much time. But I would say that do be aware that coming online, I think in the next, you'll see something at the Tuesday Board of Supervisors meeting, but there's a fairly substantial stack of capital that will be a combination of county general funds, philanthropic capital, and some banking partner capital that we will hopefully be aggregating and putting out through the CDFI network in coming days. This is intended to be a complement to the excellent stuff that's already out there. So folks at EWDD are aware this would be loans that are probably targeted $25,000 to $100,000 patient with some deferred payment criteria associated with them. They're intended for those folks who are not eligible or were unable to access PPP. So at the end of the day, this would probably be very small businesses, so top line revenue of 5 million or less, 1 to 10 employees, as well as nonprofits, and frankly, folks who either were not prioritized by banking partners because they don't have banking or credit relationships, and so aren't going to hit that, they're going to be left out in that, or potentially as small as micro entrepreneurs and the undocumented business owners who likely will also be left out. We're doing the work now of aggregating the money and getting it all to a single wholesale partner. But I think the people on this phone are relevant because ultimately we intend to push that money to the lending partners at the retail level who are really the folks on this phone. So those of you on the large, I know it's a larger call, but those of you, you know who you are, I'd really appreciate reaching out to you because we're getting closer to having those conversations about how to get the dollars in your hands. There is some operating expenses and TA resources that can come with the capital itself as well. And I'm trying to think what else is relevant. Oh, and then also, again, for a smaller subset of you who know who you are in that you are working with CRF and looking to deploy some of their PPP loan capital in the local market, we'd like to talk to you as well. We're also working with them, and I think there's a subset of, we'll call them retail partners in the LA market who are originating for that national CDFI on some of the SBA PPP loans. We're looking to tie this in, but ultimately this should be considered an alternative loan pool to PPP. So folks should go there first. If it's run out, you can't qualify, you can't get it. This is intended to fill that gap. It's available countywide, so unincorporated areas, all 88 cities, and more coming online. It won't be enough, but it'll be a nice loose slug of capital. So reach out to me as appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. And I saw the 2 thumbs up from Antonio. He's really pleased with that update and the emoji. Couple of questions. Well, one, if you do have other best practices that you'd like to share, if you can just include them in the chat box. And then for the TA providers, how much increase in services have you experienced in the last week or two? And then we'll go into, what are the challenges that you're facing right now? So for TA providers, how much increase in services are you faced with? We heard from GoBiz, I think, was it 10 times the regular amount?
That was an unofficial.
Okay, so that's unofficial. So we want to hear from you. What are you seeing in the LA region?
Anecdotal. Long Beach SVDC, a 300% increase. Wow. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
some of the federal programs have mentioned about between 4 and 5 times the number of clients they're serving. So we're definitely curious to see if that is um, something that all the organizations and the TA providers are seeing across the board, or
Okay, and then as far as current challenges in your day-to-day and what you're seeing out there, what do those look like for you in your world? Anyone can chime in if you want to unmute yourself, and we can, I mean, this is also an opportunity for us to talk through these challenges and see how we can support each other.
This is Eric Romero with the City of Long Beach again. We have a very diverse community and a large undocumented population. We're having a challenge just reaching non-English speaking folks, and are trying to recruit more community-based organizations that can really help us reach out to those folks. As government, the undocumented population sometimes has a hard time connecting with us or reaching out for a variety of valid reasons. And so we're also trying to ensure that we're recruiting these community-based organizations that have those long-standing, trusting relationships with these folks to communicate the resources that are available. We also need more financial resources for our undocumented population, both on the worker side and on the business side. But some of our loan programs aren't currently available to the undocumented population. We have an emergency loan program that we're using Economic Development Administration funds and CDBG funds to ultimately provide to folks, but undocumented folks aren't eligible for that. However, the Kiva program that Emma spoke about earlier, I don't think it asks for an ITIN, so I believe undocumented entrepreneurs may benefit from that program.
And if your organization offers assistance to undocumented, both business owners and maybe folks who have lost their regular income, please reach out to Eric and feel free to share that resource on here. So we have just a couple more minutes left. Well, let's end on a positive note. What interesting things are you seeing with your businesses, with business owners? What are they doing that is really unique to either turn around their business or support the community? Whatever the solutions might look like, just any ideas. I know there's one restaurant that's actually soliciting donations, but they're feeding frontliners in the medical field, for example.
Okay, hi, I'm Linda Kelly from Fathers and Mothers Who Care. Our problem down here is we're in Los Angeles County. We have a lot of grassroots agencies, nonprofits that are servicing the homeless. We're not getting the supplies and the information expeditiously to know about the funding or the resources to actually be able to do the work. So that's why I've been on a lot of calls. I know Heidi has probably seen me on every call that she's put up lately. I'm trying to understand the map that's going on so that I can help us grassroots nonprofits navigate the mind of how to apply and do the job, because we're just not getting the information here, the grassroots nonprofits that are doing the work in the homeless field.
Linda, we're happy to have you on, and please, take advantage of our sources. Mariko's got some great stories that she's been typing furiously into chat. I love the program that they launched that connects seniors with small businesses and restaurants with the subsidized meals, the seniors who need meals and small businesses who need the business. So that's a really cool story. I'll tell you about the story, and everybody should rip this off and tell your clients to do it. Is Andy Town Roasters, who happens to be a Working Solutions client here in the Bay Area. They're a loan client. They went online and sold buy a pastry and a coffee for a health worker. $7 purchase, $8, whatever it was, $10 purchase, they made $20,000 in one day. So steal these ideas from your fellow TA providers and share them. That's what we're trying to do here. Somebody else, Todd, also had a great tip about reducing operating expenses before trying to undertake any more funding. Another heads up for TA providers. I just want to that's the work that you do is so important. So that's a really great tip.
Awesome. And I'm sure we have a lot more. Feel free to include that in the chat box. And I believe this is also captured on the recording, right? Okay, so at this time, if you want to continue this discussion, you can stay on. At this time, I would like to thank all of you for being here. This collaborative is exactly for this purpose, to bring us all together as industry professionals who care about our local communities. And we encourage you to share this resource with other folks. Right now, we're doing quarterly meetings, but they're who knows, maybe we need to do this more regularly during this time, because every day feels like a decade. So we want to thank all of you for being here. Please continue to spread the word. We want to thank our funders, our community partners, and our steering committee, and of course CAMEO for helping us put this together in such a short amount of time. At this time, if you'd like to go, you're welcome to do so. If you'd like to stay, we can have a few more minutes of discussion about how you're doing. If you want to do a personal check-in, we can allocate another few minutes for that. We know this is a tough time for you, for us. You know, seeing businesses struggle is not easy. So if you are hopping off, thank you again, and stay well and stay safe. Okay, and for those of you who are staying on, we have a few minutes. Anyone want to share how they're doing, what's kind of top of mind for you right now? Carolina, you want to share anything from CAMEO's perspective? You get to, talk to a lot more service providers across the state.
Thank you, Anna Marie. Actually, I'm having a terrible internet connection today, so I'm afraid to talk and get in the middle. But I do wanted to thank you all. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Am I cutting?
You're fine.
So I just wanted to really thank you all for the work you're doing. I know the majority of the organizations we work with throughout the state, and from what I'm hearing here also in LA County, are working like 2-3 hours, and the capacity is being really spread thin. But I think there are opportunities. We're constantly talking to you and hearing from all the organizations, trying to support you as much as we can. And I want to make sure that you have an open channel to all of us in the steering committee. I think it's the Entrepreneurship Advantage has been very interested in supporting you. So we know that you need to have clear information about all the programs that are coming out, so you can really serve your businesses. So just let us know if there is any topics that you would like to know more, learn more, or just talk to other organizations around the California to see how they're dealing with some things. We are really putting those programs together to help you. And I'm hoping we can, from Entrepreneurship Advantage, I'm really hoping we can start kind of consolidating the information to really help you direct your clients and help them find the right resources in terms of and lending. I'm hearing similar things, so I don't want to go over that, but I definitely want to say that we are all in this together. We've been hearing about it. We are here to support you in this moment, and I'm happy to continue the conversation on that.
Thank you. Anyone else want to share?
I just two needs I thought I just want to mention and just kind of check in with other people is, well, actually I heard three needs: undocumented, help for undocumented business owners, language translation, and that was probably from Mariko, I think, if I remember correctly, who I'm not sure if she's on the call anymore, but so Japanese. So that's really interesting. And then the other is technology training for your business owners. A lot of you are working with a lot of business owners who are maybe not that tech efficient. Todd, I don't know if do you guys have any clients who are trainers or in the tech industry, that could do there may be some kind of partnering or something, or
specifically what tech?
Basic tech, like getting. Marika said she spent 2.5 hours or something getting them to like a Facebook post. We're talking about there's a lot of people in the network, a lot of business owners in the network that have no tech skills. They've been operating.
No,
yeah,
absolutely true.
So, but they're doing it.
Exactly.
I don't know if there's any, some, do you guys have, is TechSoup available statewide? Is that I know they have a pro bono volunteer thing. That might be something good to access to help your clients, with some hands-on like mentoring stuff.
An idea.
Instead, so you're not doing it, you're doing more of the business assistance, and you're not doing, you ask somebody who's a social marketer who's sitting at home and wants to volunteer and help business owners. You're asking them to help them set up their Facebook rather than you guys.
Yeah.
That's just an idea.
There's an opportunity.
Everybody hanging in there and holding up okay?
Oh yeah, we're doing the best we can. Well, I did want to share that the Entrepreneur Advantage is right on time for such a time as this. And with all the planning and preparation, you can see the necessity for having an ecosystem in place. And so this is a necessary tool for business owners more than ever.
Yeah, I also wanted to, I'm going to call on Kathleen for a second. I wanted to have her pop on and have her pop into chat our crowdfunding resource that we're making available to CAMEO members. I'll extend that to the Entrepreneurship Advantage TA providers. Kathleen's got an assessment that she does to see if your clients are good candidates for crowdfunding. So if you have, mostly, I think the businesses should have some kind of existing audience is sort of it. So for any of that, so somebody who's just, maybe talking to one or two, or like a freelancer who might be doing strategic work at a very high level, may not be the best crowdfunding candidate, but for the restaurants and some of the other storefronts, they might be a good candidate. We're offering Kathleen's assessment. She popped the link and a code in there that you guys can give to your clients to see if they're good candidates. Kathleen, you want to say something about that?
Sure. Thanks, Heidi. So the link will take you to the product on our website, and then you just give them that code CAMEO Quick. It's normally about $20, but thanks to CAMEO, we have a number of those available. Yeah, I mean, I think there are instances when crowdfunding is going to be a tool to use now, but I also feel that crowdfunding is a tool for the revitalization, the recovery. Once businesses have stabilized using these loans, how can they generate working capital? How can they re-engage their customers? So crowdfunding may be a really important tool, and they can do work right now to put themselves in a good position to crowdfund in 60 days, 90 days. So if they have an existing audience, if they have customers who love what they do, that's part of what this assessment will do, is help us determine and then help you determine. So let us be the subject matter experts on crowdfunding and help you understand that. Whether they should do a campaign sooner or really work for rallying their customers and community around them a little bit later on.
So I have a question. If you have a candidate and they do the assessment, the follow-up is there's assistance provided in developing a campaign?
So yeah, the initial product is they fill out an online questionnaire and then they get on the phone with a member of our team for 20 minutes to have a human interaction.
Okay, thank you.
That was pretty important at this time. And then we'll figure out, you know, there may be platforms that have services, there may be trainings that we can point them to. So we will try to get them to whatever help we can. I know there are some technical assistance providers who are also providing services, so we can work with you as well.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else want to share anything? Anybody?
You all right, Marlene?
Great. Monica, you want to close out with some parting words from the collaborative?
Heidi, Todd, I'm sorry, before that, Todd has a question in the chat.
Oh. I did not see that. Has anyone had a process for having the tough discussions revolving around the economy and the realities that these businesses face? Is it better for them to fight for 2 months or save their money in light of the potential major recession, depression? What do you mean by fight for 2 months? Do you mean like, I think that's a good question, Todd. I don't think, we can be honest here, we're all friends, right? I mean, I know that yesterday on the call, the Black business community is like, we're shut out of these PPP loans because we don't have relationships with banks, right? That was kind of, you know, like a general big overarching statement, but it was something that somebody from Sacramento has been hearing from their community. So I think those, you know, what do you mean by fight or save money? What does that mean? Like pay your expenses? I mean, I think we're going to come out of, businesses are going to start to open hopefully in about another month or so. So what does that mean?
Yeah, even despite that reality, and I'm going to just apologize in advance because my daughter's practicing piano in the other room.
That's all right.
But it's quite possible that a lot of the businesses, you know, in our program in particular, you know, that maybe 50% of them will not have enough revenue, no matter what program they're participating in. Sure. Will not have enough revenue to last for more than 2 or 3 months. And, you know, as I mentioned before in other discussions that we've had on CAMEO, you know, they could end up taking on debt that lingers with them even following their close. I'm trying to figure out how to have the discussion with the teams that are participating in our program to really do an honest assessment of, okay, based on your current revenue and your hope for a pivot, can you generate enough revenue to stay in business?
Right.
Or are you spending more money doing that only to have
to come out of it on the other end with no opportunities?
With nothing, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so are you directing people? Are you having those conversations? You're not having those conversations yet. And would you like us to find like some kind of resource and do some kind of training around having those difficult conversations?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if anyone's started to have those conversations. I mean, most of the discussions in the last 2 weeks have been, okay, here are the details around the programs that are becoming available and how you can qualify and apply for them. But
should you apply is the question.
Yeah, should you apply? And, you know, as we go through people's OPEX and try and reduce it, it's pretty clear that there's not enough money for them to get in these programs to survive that long. Mm-hmm. So do they save their money now and, you know, forego that fight for 2 months only to have it cost them a lot of money and then to survive you know, as and
Yeah.
personal businesses. I'm wondering if anyone's had those conversations, how they were able to do that without scaring anybody or putting out the fire that is their entrepreneurial kind of spirit. I'm planning on having something in the next couple of weeks, and I wanted to just kind of tap everyone's brain on that.
Well, I can share some of the conversations I've been having is to encourage them to look at, we've been hearing a lot about pivoting today, and this is certainly the time to do that. So this is time because there's not much you're going to do if you have to close the store. You're going to have to plan for what you're going to do after the store is open again, or are you going to consider closing business? It has to make sense. And so we're having those kind of conversations because we don't know what the end is. In other words, we don't know how long it's going to take. And in some cases, depending on what business you're in, maybe it's not feasible for you to try to continue. So we are having those discussions.
Again, so I have those discussions on a more limited basis, but I think the things that have helped me is knowing that it's not ultimately my decision and that I'm just presenting really tough questions to facilitate through that process.
Exactly.
And seeing what the end result is with either decision. So I think if you follow it through, you know, if you make decision A of continuing forward or B of stopping, what does that look like 3 months from now, 6 months from now? And are you okay with the possible consequences?
Exactly.
So I think that's one of the tools that's been helpful because then I'm not imposing my view of what's going to happen. We're working with the client's point of view.
Oh, absolutely.
And also helping the client make realistic projections, not
absolutely.
Right. I know a lot of clients like to either be super optimistic about their projections or super pessimistic. So trying to figure out where they're at on the scale, right?
Well, for instance, there's a woman who is a therapist, and so she's just converted to doing the virtual. She's using the technology to conduct her service now, but that's just adapting to the technology instead of meeting people face to face. So that's an easy one there. And, you know, once things are, you know, if the coast is clear, then she can meet with her clients face to face again.
Yep. Todd, would it be useful, Todd, for some kind of broader training on that, or would that from like a psychology point of view or something? Is that something that you think might be useful that we can look into?
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Right.
I'm not sure that enough people are talking about that. I don't hear it that much on the webinars and the conversations.
I mean, there are definitely things they should apply for, right? Because like the PPP, if you can find it, it's a forgivable loan. It's basically, the government doesn't like to say they're granting money to businesses, but that's what it is. So they should, yes, they should apply for that, because as long as they use that money for the payroll, which is part of their expenses, and keep those people on, even if they're, you know, like lose their physical space or what have you, then they should apply. They should apply for that. But for a company who's maybe more manufacturing heavy, whereas, you know, the payroll is small and the other expenses are super large, the PPP might not do a thing for those businesses. So that, you know, that's an option. So you know, but yeah, I agree. Yeah, you don't want people to end up taking on 30 years of debt and then not be able to not have any revenue to pay it back. So
Hi, sir. Oh, I work for solar rentals.
all right. Well, everyone, it's 11:30. Thanks for hanging in there and staying on. Really appreciate all the work that everybody's doing and your constant attention. I think, Monica, you want to close out? I think we definitely want, if you're not part of the LinkedIn group, we're going to invite everybody here to the LinkedIn group who attended. Monica, you want to say anything to close us?
Yeah, just to follow up with that, on the LinkedIn group, we do try to post opportunities as we find out about them. So it's a great opportunity to continue the conversation about resources for clients, and also to pose these questions. Really, we haven't had an opportunity to really pose questions to each other, but as we grow that LinkedIn group, we want it to be an extension of exactly what this webinar is: sharing resources, sharing stories, sharing best practices of how we can all improve our service to our clients, because now is when they need it the most. So I just want to thank everyone for being on the call. Thank everyone for your contributions. Thank everyone for all the hard work you're doing out there. It is not going unnoticed. Thank you all. And yeah, we're going to see you at the next convening. Thanks.
And here's the best practice. If we all give ourselves a big round of applause. Yay. Best practices on the Zoom calls: get people engaged, get people actually moving. That's a tip we've learned from our online guru, Joy Taylor. Anyway, bye everybody.
Bye everybody. Have a great day. Stay safe.